Hello, hello, beautiful people of crypto and pulse chain. It is 9:30 p.m. in my world, and I've had a coffee in the afternoon, and I have far too much energy to go to sleep, let alone I have too much good energy. So I'm going to share it with all you all. So, with that being said, given where we're at in the crypto landscape, I do want to share some of my favorite charts, my favorite chart. Um, because I find when sometimes there's some extra fear, sometimes we just need to go back to zooming out energy of like, why are we here? Why are we doing the things that we do? What's actually going on in the crypto world? Big picture type of energy. So we're going to drop on into this. And yeah. So, hello. First and foremost, so when I'm looking at one of my favorite charts, I teach this to all of my students. I like to teach crypto as a movement. More than anything, we all know that we are signing up for the future. We're aligning ourselves to the future, to the changing times. And with that in mind, there is this one gorgeous chart that I always love to drop into people. And I'm just going to share it with you guys right on the spot. Let me share this little screen. It is called the adoption curve. This is the adoption curve. Ooh, I would love to see my face as well. Here we go. Okay, great. So this is the chart that I like. It's a beautiful visual, but I think people really start to understand not only if you're a pulse chain or a hex investor versus a Bitcoin versus Ethereum, you get to understand where you fit on the curve and why particularly you are here in this volatile asset class. It also is very helpful just to understand like each market cycle, the adoption curve, where you sit on this, where we all collectively in the crypto space sit, it continues to keep on going up and further along on the curve. And the earlier that we are in something, of course, that means the lower market cap that is there. The people that have a little bit more rebellion like spirit, the people who are a little bit more innovative, a little bit or more early adopters, the people who need a little less information to feel a whole lot more confidence and a lot more trust. That's how we get to be rewarded. So first and foremost, I love seeing this chart. And also I love like activating that little spirit that lives within me and within you to remember that like we're here in times where we need either less information or we're able to go get more of that information out there so that we can help ultimately trust in our assets and in our investments. So while we're in this period and while we've been in this period in Pulse Chain of being the builders, of being the people who are tinkering with things, who may experience certain things breaking or certain websites not running smoothly or certain code needing update as it goes along, just like the little upgrades, we can, for my own stuff, I've been like reminding myself where it's like, well, duh, of course we're going to have that uncertainty. Of course we're going to have the volatility. Of course we're going to have the chop. Of course we're going to have certain tech things still being built because we've all signed up to be investors investing in the innovator round. We're at the very beginning, the very cusp. And part of that, I like to see that even as like all of us individually, like there's some part that like is a little bit of a turn on for us to be like, hey, we love being at something while it's so early on. We're sculpting it, we're molding it. And also as influencers or educators in the space too, or builders, you get to also infuse your energy into like that ground level startup type. It's like what it's why it's ultimately why people love being a part of startups too, is like there's this mystery, there's this wonder, but then also like we're rooting for something. There's this like eternal optimistic energy in it as well. So I love seeing this chart as a little reminder for myself. And if you are just tuning in now, this is called the adoption curve. I teach this to my students where I'm like, remember, when you're building and sculpting your portfolio, you get to have certain coins where you may be more of like early adopters or early majority. And then you may have coins that you're going to be like an innovator for. And that's what we're signing up for is we're signing up for high growth exposure, but then also like choppiness, higher volatility. This is the game that we play because we want to watch our money grow in exponential ways. And we're also willing to do the research to be like, how is this going to play out? What are the possible situations? So during these times, especially I find in the crypto space, we are just experiencing a whole lot of question marks between the election, between the economy, between the things going on in the greater globe. There's just a whole lot of question marks. Whenever this type of energy comes up, and if people are like feeling this feeling of like, oh my God, what's happening to the crypto market? What's going to happen to the bull market? Is it going to happen? Are all these things going on? First off, personally, I love going back to like the macro guys who have a lot of research in the whole world and field. Particularly for me, Raoul Pal feels super, super grounding. But I also love reminding myself that I'm like, every single industry, especially that is innovative and that is young, is going to go through waves where adoption is going to take place and also it's not. Like it all takes time and cycles. And so even where we're at right now, where it's like, if there was a recession like energy to come on, okay, what would happen to the crypto landscape? Maybe it would just extend our period for a little bit while. Maybe we have to wait a little bit longer. But ultimately, are we still going to have a bull market at some point? Yeah. Why so? In my mind, in my opinion, is because there still has to be corrections that go on in like, I'm saying this in the sense of like, I personally am not super big on believing a recession is happening. I'm not really picturing that, but I also do love to play into possibilities of like, what are the potential possibilities that could happen in the space? And even just seeing where we're at right now, where it's like, okay, if there's going to be a pause at some point, the Fed, the governments are going to have to intervene to some degree to help boost up the economy. And the economy can't stay at a low forever. And how might they do that? Well, they may be printing dollars or they may be playing with the interest levels. Those are the two tools that they have, which are also super positive and bullish for the collective crypto space in general. So I personally love like when certain moments come up of like questioning, being like, what's going on in the space? Like, is the world going to go to da, 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 da. I love asking myself, I'm like, okay, wait, let's be a little real. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's compare possibilities. What are all the possibilities? And I find that sometimes like this is where, if anyone has seen Inside Out, that movie, particularly Inside Out #2, they bring in the character anxiety and seeing how anxiety operates. Like anxiety is such a great character in like experiencing our own anxieties too. Great character for just mapping out all the possibilities that can happen in a certain situation. All the situations. She's like, there could be this happen and that happen and that happen and that happen. I have to prepare for all these things. And so, anyways, I bring up anxiety because during some of these times, I don't think I necessarily am feeling anxiety, maybe subtly. But more than anything, like my inner anxiety character wants to start to go into like, what's going on in the economy? What's going on in the world? What's going on in the crypto space? And what are all the possibilities that these things can happen? Like what could happen? Then once I go into possibilities, I then love to layer into like, what are the probabilities? Is it a 20% chance? Is it 40%? Do I think it's an 80% chance? And that way I can start to have some data points for the possibilities that will come out as well. And so I'm going to stop sharing the screen. But all this to be said, I'm like I find it's very important as an investor is to just like be like, okay, let's do a little real check-in. What's going on in my inner landscape? What am I fretting about? Whether this is like, I find sometimes if you're not having big crypto stresses, you can even just play this out into your own real life and be like, okay, what am I worried about today? What is the thing that runs in the back of my mind? What is there? Please tell me. And then once you can layer out some of those like questions, those anxieties, those looping thoughts, you can even be like, I'm looping out because of these possibilities that could happen in my world. Well, if these are the possibilities, if I'm worried about my house burning down, or I'm worried about someone breaking into my home, or I'm worried about falling off a bike and breaking my leg, just throwing out random shit things. This is where you get to be like, well, what's the probability that these things would actually happen? And so I'll do this with the economy. I'll do this with the crypto landscape, is be like, let's layer out all of the possibilities that my little pea brain is stressing out about. And what are the percent chance that I think that this could actually happen? And that way you get to bring a little bit of numbers to the hypotheticals, and you get to be like, oh, I can sleep better at night being like, I've iterated all the possible iterations and like everything's gonna be okay. Crypto's still gonna have its bull market. It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be glorious. Sure, there may be little like hows, there may be little like things that and bumps that go on the journey way, but like zoom out, big picture. Are we gonna do fine? Yeah. Is Pulse Chain gonna do fine? In my mind, yeah. Is it just a matter of time? Yeah. So always just like going back for the little, I love in these times, just like the fundamental check-ins to be like, has your conviction in crypto shifted? No. Cool. Do you still think crypto is part of the future? Yes. Do you still think that there's problems with the dollar and that people collectively are waking up to the fact that the problems with the dollar keep getting bigger? Yes. Okay. If there's all these things and more, know that the crypto market will be happening. Crypto is not dying. Is there anything that the government can really, really, really do to squash these things? I personally don't think so. I mean, there's certain things, but I personally think that the movement is so big and the power is in the people that we're going to make things work and we're going to have things figured it out. I do think that there were certain things, even like with one of the news alerts today around even like the proposed capital gains increase. I think all of these different things that are happening in the greater crypto space are really just like around taxes too. It's inviting people to be a little bit more tactful with how they interact with the space as well. So anyways, that is all I really have for today. Just want to do a quick little drop in with you guys. Yeah, I really just I love certain charts and certain visuals. And this one in particular, you guys know, as I just shared it, this one in particular is one of my absolute freaking favorites, the adoption curve. So just remember, we as Pulse Chain investors, we are brilliant, bright souls. Actually, I do think hands down that our community is one of the brightest all around, not just the builders, but also a lot of the investors. Like, damn, we are sharp monkeys. And the level that we keep up around T-shares and around the maths and the numbers and just the level of what we are able to see, even consciousness wise, I'm like, there is such a huge evolution. Hello, disclosure kids. There is a huge evolution that has taken place in our collective community. And that's one of the big reasons that I've been here talking about this stuff. Streaming on Solana. Interesting. Interesting. I maybe can chat with you later about that. But that is anything else you would like to share? Wait, I've heard about this one before. But I don't have enough that I could be able to speak about it. So I'll let you know later, maybe for a later time. But I hope you have a beautiful, brilliant night wherever you are in the world. Remember to invest safely, dream sweetly, weigh in those possibilities and probabilities. I personally have been working a ton with anxiety for my own self, of like reframing how anxiety works in my world. And ultimately realizing like this bear market, I still think that like this is a lot of bear market energy that we all have in the crypto space. Like these times where things are boring and things are down, this is a time to really do more of the inner work and to help prepare your inner landscape for more wealth that is coming for, and ultimately for you to be able to make those better decisions so that when it does come time, not only does like wealth and money reveal just what lives within you, but also it's a time for us to really take inventory to be like, how is my inner world not running as smooth as I would have liked? And how can investing reveal what lives within me? And how can I change that inner world so that I can create different situations for myself and I don't have to live in this insanity loop? I definitely personally have been feeling that with my own anxiety and noticing how I'm transforming and transmuting a lot of that energy and noticing that like emotions, anxiety in particular, is a pressure. And pressure can be used in a negative way to help like weigh against us. And it can feel like this, like all consuming, like, oh my God, I have so much anxiety. I have so much inner pressure. I'm putting this inner pressure on myself. And also when I can start to understand what types of anxiety I have, how it expresses, what I really stress out over. Um, I've been getting a lot, I've been nerding out in more of the like scientific sense of like the different types of anxieties. And I have more of a generalized anxiety around like a lot of situations. But that's where my mind will go. So it's even just interesting learning more about my inner landscape. And the more I can understand my inner landscape, the more compassion I can have so that when it does come up, I can be like, oh, anxiety, I see you stressing out about that. I love you. I'm so curious about how you feel that way. And also, like, you're doing just fine. So just remember these times where the market is down. Not only is it an amazing time for us to be doing our research around our crypto portfolios, our investments, building out our conviction, getting to know people more and building out your community, but also it's an amazing time for you to become a better human so that when big money and big wealth does come into your hand and you're hitting those sell buttons and with that more money comes more ways that you're able to invest it and spend it and create different and bigger things in the world, you are also becoming a better human in the process so you can handle that new level of wealth and power that comes with it. Okay, on that note, I'm going to leave you guys. I hope you have a beautiful night, morning, day, whenever, wherever you are listening to this. I'm sending you so much love. And that's all I really have for right now. Okay, see you guys on the next one.